All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Houston Texans' huge victory to keep the playoff hopes on their side. 22-17 this afternoon against the hottest team in the National Football League, the Denver Broncos. Certainly wasn't pretty, certainly wasn't sexy, but boy, oh boy, did that defense step up time and time again. Will Anderson Jr. with a career game, Stingley with a couple of interceptions, Jimmy Ward with the game-clinching interception in the red zone with Tom coming down to the wire. This defense is making very competent and very capable quarterbacks look pretty measly. We saw that today with Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. Now, unfortunately, it all wasn't great. Tank Dell, I think we just got official confirmation, is pretty much going to be done for the rest of the season. So it definitely came with a cost, but we'll deal with that when it comes later on in the video. Before we get into it, if you guys enjoyed, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. If you want more Texans videos, well, folks, you've come to the right place. If we could try and get this video to 250 likes, that would mean the absolute world to me. So kind of a weird game. You know, Houston really dominated, I mean, especially the first half. The score was only 13-3 at halftime, but, I mean, they were moving the chains. Nico Collins was unbelievable. C.J. Stroud looked good. We have to keep in mind they were missing a bunch of pieces, and like we said, Tank Dell got injured pretty much right away, and it really sucks. It really sucks, but this is football and these things happen whether we like it or not. I don't think there's a soul on earth that likes this injury. You know, we have to feel for the players especially, but you know, it's just tough, man. It really is. Thankfully, Nico Collins is just absolutely unreal, and CJ Stroud is absolutely unreal. And the good news is Tank Dell is a rookie. He's not a 35-year-old, you know, with a wearing down body. Tank will be back, and he will be back better than ever whenever that is, but we'll take that as it comes, as the news comes out. So time of possession, 33-27. Once again, man, I know the Denver Broncos were statistically, especially, the worst team in the NFL through the first 6 games of the season, but in their win streak, this 5-game winning streak that they were on prior to this afternoon, they were giving up just 16 points per game. So we talked about it this week on this channel. It was not going to be an easy victory. You know, you're going to see a lot more field goals as opposed to touchdowns. They're still going to move the chains, but especially once that red zone starts creeping in, it's going to be hard to just get touchdowns. So this afternoon, just 4 of 16 on third down conversions. That definitely needs to change. However, they had 353 total yards of offense. They only gave up 282 yards of offense for Denver. And also, that third down defense was absolutely phenomenal, folks. The Denver Broncos this afternoon on third down conversions, 0 of 11. 0 of 11. You don't really see that pretty much ever. Now, one or a couple of good things, actually. They forced 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions from Russell Wilson. They were attacking that QB. Will Anderson Jr., we'll talk about him later on in the video. He had a phenomenal game. But when, you know, the rush game wasn't good. Devin Singletary looks fine. We'll talk about that in a second, but 8 penalties for 81 yards just was sloppy, right? Aspects of this game certainly were sloppy, but folks, for a team that won 3 football games last season, if you are playing a sloppy game where you're not fully feeling it offensively and you still come away with the victory, especially against the hottest team in the league like the Denver Broncos, well, for me personally, that's going to work. So CJ Stroud this afternoon, 16-27, 274 yards, a touchdown, 0 interceptions. He was completely banged up. You know, he was so banged up that they actually had to take him out for a couple of snaps, and Mills came in to play quarterback for 101 for 8 yards. Thankfully, CJ did come back in to finish off that game, but you know, kind of holding my breath there at various aspects this afternoon. Now, the run game is something I'm just not a fan of, man. I know Dameon Pierce can play. 15 carries for just 41 yards and a touchdown. He did have a long of 22, but he only averaged 2.7 yards per carry. You know, we go back 1 week ago, the leading rusher for this team was CJ Stroud. And I'm looking at a guy like Devin Singletary, who, you know, in the 2 games Dameon Pierce missed, the guy lit it up for 3. He ran for over 100 rushing yards each of those games. The dude was a freaking stud. You know, he had 8 carries today for 36 yards. He averaged 4.5 yards per carry. Like, just give him RB1 duties. I think at this point, and it really sucks for Dameon Pierce, especially as I'm a big Florida Gator fanboy, I just think Singletary is the better route, and I think Damian Pierce is more suited for a complementary running back role. Not that there's anything wrong with that. He was a third round draft pick. Running backs, especially in this day and age, I mean, they take the brunt of the hit. So I would just give RB1 duties to Devin Singletary. I'm sick of, even like a committee would work. I know they're like quote unquote in a committee right now, but one player ran for 15 times for 41 yards. The other ran 8 times for pretty much the same amount of yardage. So that is what it is. But once again, Tank Dell went injured relatively quickly. You were missing Dalton Schultz this afternoon. Nico Collins is a stud. The long-term outlook of this receiving core is beautiful. And that was like a big question mark heading into this season is Nico Collins going to cement himself as a wide receiver number 1 in the National Football League? If you ask me, he has done just that. He's like 9 yards below 1,000 yards receiving this season, folks. We're only 12 games in. They still have 5 more games to play. Career day, 9 catches, 191 yards. He averaged over 21 yards per catch and that touchdown. Brevin Jordan also stepping up big time in the wake of Dalton Schultz's injury. 3 catches for 64 yards. Outside of that, not much. Noah Brown, 0 catches, only 2 targets. I'm not worried about it, the Tank Dell injury, but it certainly means that a lot of these guys, Nico Collins included, are going to really need to step up for the finals, for just honestly the rest of the regular season and hopefully the playoffs. So let's talk a little bit about this defense. Stingley with 2 beautiful interceptions. Jimmy Ward with the game-clinching interception. The game came all the way down to the wire. We could look at Will Anderson's stat lines. If you were to check the box score for Will Anderson Jr., I'm on CBS Sports here. 5 total tackles, 2 sacks. Like, that's a great game for Will Anderson Jr. Folks, he had a career high in pressures this afternoon. He was literally all over Russell Wilson. I mean, he was all over whoever lined up against him. All game, Will Anderson Jr. was just a force to be reckoned with. And it's weird because, considering where he was drafted, I think it's just because he isn't a quarterback. The Houston Texans, even though I think it was like the fourth largest city in America, I don't know what it is. Texans fans and like good NFL fans know that Will Anderson Jr. has had a phenomenal rookie season, but I think just with like, defensive players, a lot of people like to just look at the sack count, and if that sack number isn't as high as, if it honestly, like, just keep it a buck with you guys, if that sack number isn't like close to 10, I think a lot of people don't think they're making impacts. Will Anderson Jr. is a stud. He's been a stud, and he was especially a freaking stud this afternoon in a huge-ass game, folks. This was a huge-ass victory for a team still learning how to win. Don't even get me started on the remainder of their schedule. You've got the Jets, the Titans, the Browns, the Titans, and the Colts. Folks, the Houston Texans are going to make the playoffs. That's it for today. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Texans fans, NFL fans, let me know what you thought of this afternoon's victory. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you in a couple of days.